Eileo guys, and welcome back. In today's video, we have the updated review for Onmyoji, which has been requested quite a lot from a lovely character named Keith over here on the internet. Keith has been leaving some comments, not comment spamming, but he's left enough comments to make it so that the next review is Onmyoji to hopefully answer his question, which he's probably already gotten his answer to, and he's already just like unsubscribed and left. But Keith, if you're still out here watching, man, this video is straight up dedicated to you. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So we're starting off here with Fire Onmyoji. She's a tank type and she's coming in with 37k HP, nearly 38k HP, 2.5k attack, and then 2.7k defense. Now as a nat 5, I can be a little bit more critical in terms of their stat distribution, and her stat distribution is more of like a balance mon, to be honest, not so much a tank. But one thing I don't want you guys to ever focus on is what smartstudy calls your monsters. Like, oh, it's a tank type, meaning they should have a lot of HP. Yes, in most cases tanks do have a lot of HP, but with her being more like a balanced distribution, you could obviously build her more than one way. Now, are you going to build her more than one way? Let's take a look at her skills before you decide anything like that. So, for her 3-star skill, she has SP Siphon, which obviously siphons the SP from the enemy by 30%, so that's a very good amount already. And then for her 5-star skill, she has Defense Down, which grants 80% chance to reduce the enemy's defense for 2 turns. So immediately what you should be thinking here is, okay, she has what, 38k HP, 2.5k attack, and 2.7k defense. There's nothing here that really promotes damage, so even if I give her an attack gem, SP Siphon isn't going to increase in its damage even with skill books. Defense Down does increase your overall damage, but it's for the whole entire squad, and I don't see anyone out there running Fire Onmyojis as their offensive PvP mon to deal damage. Moving on with the skill books though, SP Siphon here does receive a 20% damage boost, which, like I said, 2.5k attack stat, it doesn't matter, and it goes up to 40%, which is pretty chunky. And then Defense Down receives a 25% damage boost as well, which, I mean, is kind of irrelevant here. Basically, I just wouldn't book it up. Like, I would not book her up at all, because the 10% boost into the SP Siphon is great, but you'll find out later in this review that there's other Onmyojis that are just far superior. But in terms of her overall usage, of course she would be a crowd control type mon, because SP Siphon can prevent the enemy from getting their 5-star skill off, and then the Defense Down is just a debuff to help your squad do more damage depending on what team composition that you're running in. I'm not saying you can't use her offensively if you need to have an SP Siphoner. It's just that if you were going to use her at all, it would probably be a more defensive mon in a clan versus clan / PvP situation. And with her, what is that, resist lead? It's kind of yikers, man. Moving forward though, we have Water Onmyoji over here. She's an attacker type and she's coming in with 31k HP, nearly 3.7k attack, and then 2k defense. So a little bit brutal with that defense, especially as a nat 5. Like, there's some nat 4s, probably even nat 3s with that amount of defense here. So the moral of this story is, don't let your wet Onmyoji get hit, because it's gonna hurt. Her HP pool, I will say though, is a bit above average for the normal attacker, from what I can see from the video. So there is some merit to her being lower in her defense department here. But let's take a look at her skills before we decide on the gem sets here. So for her 3-star skill and her 5-star skill, she has Hunter. And Hunter, we can read here, increases critical hit damage by 50%. If you're new to the game or you're thinking about building Water Onmyoji, remember, if a mon does not crit and they have Hunter, congratulations, the skill is useless. So if you are walking around in PvE with your Onmyoji on triple attack or HP attack and she has the base 10% crit rate, congratulations, you played yourself. Don't play yourself. Don't ever play yourself. Throw this baby girl on a crit rate attack, or if you can manage it, something like a crit damage attack gem set, obviously with max crit rate, because once again, if she does not crit, Hunter does not activate, meaning her 3-star and 5-star skill is useless. Book-wise though, it looks like both of them receive a 30% damage boost, which once again isn't that big of a deal for me, because 30% is nice and potent, don't get me wrong here, but as a nat 5, and especially as a water nat 5 that is a nuker, I'm not a super duper big fan of water nukers. I'm not saying that they're bad or they're useless. It's just that there's a lot cheaper alternatives that you have to do this. If you really want a water nuker, just pick up, Water Loki instead. He even has a super evolution. Don't bother. You can like Evo 3 her, but don't bother trying to skill book her up when you can get something for cheaper and is actually bookable in a reasonable amount of time. Now, her uses is obviously going to be in a PvE situation if you need a nuker. Outside of that, though, I don't feel very comfortable bringing her into a PvP situation. I mean, you could possibly bring her in there and have her deal damage. It's just that other mons do have crit resist on them, so they could resist her hunter. I mean, if you need a nuker for some type of content, for like dragons, for example, I perfectly understand that. So go ahead and build her up if you do like her. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Moving forward after that, though, we do have Wood Onmyoji, who's an attacker type. She's coming in with 29k HP, 3.5k attack, and then 2.7k defense. Now, she is one of the mons that has not recently, like a year ago, has gotten a skill redo. And she has actually went from sad face gaming to smiley face gaming, you guys. Like, Wood Onmyoji is bussin'. That's the big giant spoiler right here. Why? Well, let's go and take a look at her skills before I go into more detail about that. So, for her 3-star skill, she has Defense Down, which grants 80% chance to reduce the enemy's defense for 2 turns. And then for her 5-star skill, she has Courageous Strike. Defense Down, Courageous Strike. I want you guys to think about that for a second. Just pause. Where could you use her at? We're doing some Dora the Explorer action. Where can you use her at? If you said farming out PvE stages, you are absolutely correct. Make sure you subscribe because I want to see your face and I want to see your views on the videos once again. If you said Titans, congratulations, you're actually wrong. No, I'm kidding. Definitely Titans Mon, and with her 5-star skill being Courageous Strike, it obviously makes sense for her to be on the left lane and not the right lane. Her overall main selling point is being a debuffer first and then a damage dealer second. Very, very similar to Water Indra, who has attack down, if I'm recalling that correctly here. You're going to have at least 2 Wood Onmyojis, obviously for your left lanes, to get peak damage. Like if you want to do like in-game super duper high crazy amounts of damage, you're going to need Onmyoji. She isn't just a weak sauce Courageous Striker. In my opinion, she is better than Wood Garuda. Obviously, Wood Garuda has weakened, but she is better than Wood Garuda hands down. So she went from sad face, like I said before, to smiley face gaming, and she is essentially another staple here with Water Titan. Skillbook wise though, Defense Down receives a 25% damage boost and it goes to 90% for 2 turns. And then Courageous Strike receives a 25% damage boost as well. And let me double check that. Yep, 90% for 2 turns. So overall, definitely a very, very solid mon when it comes to hitting Titans. And if you need to hit any type of boss that has an excessive amount of HP, like the bosses in the Dimensional Dungeon and Colossus, this baby girl right here, if you have her, she's going to help you do that job. Moving forward after that though, we do have Light Onmyoji here, who's a defender type, and she's coming in with 25k HP, 2.8k attack, and then 3.6k defense. Okay, I see that set distribution, and yeah, I do have her at Evo 3. That's not a weird flex, I just have her at Evo 3 here. But let's go and take a look at her skills. So for her 3-star skill, congratulations once again. She has SP Siphon with a 30% siphoning of said SP. And then for her 5-star skill, she has Shock, which grants a 70% chance to shock the target for 2 turns. Meaning, she's very, very similar to Fire Onmyoji, in which that she's a crowd control mon. But since she's a light type as well, she does have a bit of an edge because the only way to, maximize your damage on a light unit is to have a dark unit. So there is kind of some positives of bringing her in there versus Fire, but once again, it's kind of a scenario where it depends on what team that you're fighting, which one could definitely be more useful for you here. In terms of her skill books though, SP Siphon receives a whopping 20% damage boost once again, and it goes up to 40%. And then Shock receives a 15% damage boost, and it goes up to 80%, I believe, for 2 turns. So I mean, it's okay. Once again, nothing extravagant. It is better than what Fire Onmyoji had to offer, especially in terms of just overall usage here. And I mean, she's okay as a nat 5. I'm not going to go ahead and say, oh my goodness, I use my light Onmyoji everywhere. I think I'm still in the process of building her, but if you ever do see her in my PvP defense team, that's just me weird flexing, because why not? But obviously her overall use is very, very similar to Fire Onmyoji, which I stated before. Basically, you just want to help kind of control the crowd. So the good part is that you can also use her offensively if you really want to, and defensively, but obviously her build may differ depending on how you wish to do that. But literally think of Fire Onmyoji, but better. And to go ahead and end things off here, you guys, we have Dark Onmyoji, who's an attacker type. I do believe she received that update along with Wood Onmyoji last year, and she's coming in with 28k HP, 3.6k attack, and then 2.6k defense. So overall, decent stat distribution, and especially as a Dark Mon, we can take advantage of that lovely attack stat. So let's go and take a look at her skills here. So for her 3-star skill, she has Weaken, which grants an 80% chance to weaken the enemy for 2 turns, and it says here, weakened foes have reduced attack and defense, which is very helpful depending on the Titan that you're fighting. And then for her 5-star skill, she has Courageous Strike, which seems oddly familiar to good old Wood Onmyoji, doesn't it? So in the same exact scenario as Wood Onmyoji, if you need to use her in places where monsters have an excessive amount of HP, such as Titans, you can use her there. You can use her in Colossus. You can use her in the Dimensional Dungeon depending on how well she is built. It's just dependent on your gem quality here. In terms of books though, Weaken receives a 20% damage boost, and it goes up to, what was that, 90% for 2 turns. And then Courageous Strike receives a 20% damage boost as well. So those books are kind of sad there. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, because as a Dark Mon, that's hard to get. That's all I get from booking her up. That's like a slap in the face. It's like, look, you pulled a super duper rare Astramon that's hard to get, but her books are just terrible. They're just disrespectful here. Alright, so I know what you guys are thinking. She's very, very similar to Wood Onmyoji, right, Eileo? So she has to be super duper good. Wood Onmyoji is great because that applies only to the Wet Titan or the Water Titan. In this scenario though, Onmyoji is just a slap in the face. She is easily below not only Dark Xiaowu Jing, but also Dark Jiang Wuqi, because her Courageous Strike is on her 5-star skill and not her 3-star skill, meaning at least for those guys, if they don't get orbs, it's not the end of the world. No, they're not going to do Dark Andrew damage, but they're going to do a lot more damage than what Dark Onmyoji has to offer, because baby girl is over there spamming Weaken when she should be spamming Courageous Strike, while the other guys can at least spam Courageous Strike and sometimes do their 5-star skills instead. So Dark Onmyoji is like, oh, I pulled Dark Onmyoji, that's great. And then you realize though, in terms of like an in-game setup for your Titans teams of hitting Light Titan, you're just like, oh, well, her damage could definitely be better, especially if they just switch her skills. But I think another Astramon already has Weaken on their 5-star skill. Yeah, Xiaowu Jing has Weaken on his 5-star skill, so I mean, there's not really much, I guess, that smartstudy can do with her, unless they decide to give her like a different move or something like that. But yeah, it's unfortunate that she is honestly weaker or less potent in terms of her usage than Wood Onmyoji, in my opinion. And right before we end the video here, you guys, I want to do my quick little opinion of the Onmyojis, just to give you guys a better idea of at least how I see them in terms of usage. So it's going to be Light Onmyoji as number 1 in my book, followed by Wood Onmyoji. She's going to be number 2 on the list here. Number 3, it could be a toss-up here, but I would say Water Onmyoji would be number 3, even though I'm not a big fan of water nukers. Why am I not a big fan of water nukers? Don't ask questions. Number 4 is going to have to be Dark Onmyoji, and then number 5 is going to have to be obviously Fire Onmyoji. I don't think all of the Onmyojis by any means are terrible. It's just that some slightly excel more than others, especially enough to make you want to build only that one versus this one. So even if you pull a Dark Onmyoji, I'm not saying that she's bad. Once again, this is only one man's opinion. You can feel free to leave yours in the comments below. And thank you guys so much for watching. Keith, if you saw this video, make sure you liked it. Make sure you left a comment in the comment section below. If there's another video that needs to be updated, just find that video on my monster review playlist. Say update, I'll check it out. And yeah, that's pretty much it.